Rain lashed against the windows. It was a relentless assault, mirroring the turmoil brewing inside John. He paced the length of his living room, the floorboards groaning under his weight. The power had been out for hours, plunging his house into an oppressive darkness. John's heart pounded in his chest, each thud echoing the rhythmic drumming of the rain. A sudden crack of thunder split the night, shaking the very foundation of the house. John jumped, his hand flying to his chest. He let out a shaky breath, trying to calm his racing heart. The storm seemed to be intensifying, mirroring his growing unease. He felt a chill crawl down his spine, sending goosebumps erupting across his skin. There was a presence in the house. He could feel it. The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed midnight, each clang resonating through the silent house. The sound seemed to amplify the silence that followed, making the atmosphere even more oppressive. John's eyes darted around the room, searching the shadows for the source of his unease. He knew he was being watched, the feeling as tangible as the damp air clinging to his skin. John's gaze fell on the front door, its dark wood a stark contrast against the pale moonlight filtering in through the window panes. A shiver ran down his spine. Someone or something was out there just beyond his door. A sharp rap on the door shattered the silence. John froze, his blood turning to ice in his veins. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. The knocking came again, more insistent this time. It was a summons, a demand for entry into his sanctuary. Fear, cold and paralyzing, gripped him. John stood rooted to the spot, his breath caught in his throat. Every instinct screamed at him not to open the door, to leave it shut against the night and whatever lurked beyond. But curiosity, like a moth drawn to a flame, warred with his fear. He took a hesitant step towards the door, then another. Each step felt like a mile, his body heavy with dread. As he neared the door, the knocking stopped. An unnatural silence descended, heavier and more oppressive than before. John reached out a trembling hand and grasped the cold brass doorknob. It was as if a jolt of electricity shot up his arm as his fingers made contact. He hesitated for a beat, his heart pounding in his ears. Then, taking a deep breath, he flung the door open. Standing on his doorstep was a woman. She was drenched to the bone, her clothes plastered to her thin frame. Her dark hair clung to her face, obscuring her features. Rain dripped from her ragged cloak, pooling on the welcome mat beneath her bare feet. "May I come in?" she asked, her voice a low whisper that seemed to slither into his mind. John was speechless. He couldn't tear his gaze away from her, couldn't find the will to deny her request. He stepped aside, his body moving on autopilot, and the woman glided past him into the house. The hallway mirror, usually reflecting the entryway, remained strangely blank, as if she didn't exist. John felt a tremor of unease. This woman, whoever she was not what she seemed. He shut the door, the sound echoing in the sudden silence after the storm's fury. As he turned back, his gaze was drawn to her eyes. They glowed in the darkness, twin orbs of bright predatory yellow, like an owl's. A chill, sharper than any he had ever felt before, ran down his spine. The air thickened, heavy with a strange energy that seemed to emanate from her. The woman smiled, a slow, predatory curve of her lips that didn't reach her unsettling eyes. A low growl, like that of a caged beast, rumbled deep in her chest. John took an instinctive step back, fear finally overriding the strange compulsion that had held him captive. Then came the sound, a sickening tearing, like flesh ripping from bone. The lights flickered, casting grotesque shadows that danced on the walls. John screamed, a primal sound of terror that died in his throat. The air crackled with energy, and a blinding light filled the room. When the light faded, John was gone. Only his clothes remained, lying in a crumpled heap on the floor. A single shoe lay on its side, a silent testament to the horror that had transpired. The woman stood before the mirror, her reflection still absent. A slow smile spread across her face, revealing rows of sharp, pointed teeth. She raised her hand, her long, bony fingers tracing a crack that had appeared on the mirror's surface. A thick black liquid began to ooze from the crack, its stench making John's stomach clench in disgust. It pulsed with a life of its own, a dark and hungry entity released from its glassy prison. The woman stepped towards the black ooze, her form shimmering and distorting. The last thing John saw before he was pulled into the darkness was her eyes, glowing with malevolent triumph. The storm raged on, oblivious to the horror it had brought.